Sarah Martell, and on this episode of the History Series, we take a closer look at the life of Nathaniel Hawthorne. He was born on July 4th, 1804 in Salem, Massachusetts, to Captain Nathaniel Hawthorne Sr. and Elizabeth Manning Hawthorne. His siblings are Maria Louisa and Elizabeth Manning. At age 15, he prepared for college at Samuel Archer's School. During this time, he worked for Manning Stagecoach Lines, earning $1 per week. At age 17, knowing he wanted to become a writer, he said, "I do not want to be a doctor and live by men's disease, nor a minister and live by their sins, nor a lawyer and live by their quarrels. So I do not see that there is anything left for me but to be an author."
Hi, I'm Cindy Cullen, and I will be interviewing Miss Mirandos from Manchester Memorial High School. I have 4 questions for her. 1. What's your opinion on Nathaniel Hawthorne?
I like him because he's very historical, and he centers around New England, and that's where we grew up.
Alright, number 2. Why do you think he is still taught in schools today?
He's part of the canon, meaning we have to teach certain things that we've taught over and over and over for every years. And that stuff really hasn't changed too much, and he's very historical, and he's accurately historical.
Okay. Number 3. How do you think Nathaniel Hawthorne influenced other American authors?
Well, he allowed them to write about sin and other humanity things, and I think that really opened the door to write about those things that nobody really spoke about.
Yep. Number 4. What is your favorite book by Nathaniel Hawthorne?
Absolutely, Scarlet Letter.
Alright, thank you very much.
You bet.
Hi, I'm Hannah Durgan reporting outside the house where Nathaniel Hawthorne was born. Nathaniel's father died when he was 4 from yellow fever on one of his trips to the Caribbean. His mother and 2 sisters then moved to live with her family and her 8 other siblings in Raymond, Maine. As a child, Hawthorne was very isolated and enjoyed being outdoors and reading British poets named Edmund Spenser, John Bunyan, and William Shakespeare. When his mother left the family due to mourning the death of his father, Hawthorne was left to be raised by his grandfather, Richard Sr., and his wife, Miriam. After the death of Hawthorne's grandfather, his uncle, Richard Jr., took over and showed Nathaniel the life of a man. Now let's go inside and see how Hawthorne lived his life. Here I am inside the house of Nathaniel Hawthorne, standing beside the desk he used to write the Scarlet Letter. This is the second historical site in Salem, Massachusetts. All the inspiration that Nathaniel got from living in this house made him want to write. In 1821, he attended Bodewood College in Brunswick, Maine. At college, he studied Latin, Greek, math, philosophy, English composition, and natural science. He also joined college literacy societies where he studied social groups similar to fraternities. He made friends with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, a poet, Franklin Pierce, future United States President, and Horatio Bridges, future Navy commander. He graduated in 1825 and was number 18 out of 38 in his class. After college, he moved back in with his mom and sisters in Salem, Mass. There he prepared his writing career for 12 years. Nathaniel dedicated his days and nights to his reading and writing. In 1828, Nathaniel anonymously published Fanshawe with his own money. With no attention from the critics, he began to dislike the novel and asked Horatio Bridges to burn copies. Today, it's one of the rarest novels. After this letdown, Bridge convinced Hawthorne to prepare a collection of his tales and publish them under his own name. 18 previously published novels were condensed into one book and called Twice Told Tales, which was submitted to Samuel G. Goodrich and was published in March of 1837. And became an immediate success, which led to another chapter for Nathaniel Hawthorne.
It is a little remarkable that, though disinclined to talk over much of myself and my affairs at the fireside, and to my personal friends, an autobiographical impulse should at twice in my life have taken possession of me, in addressing to the public,
Hi, I'm Bree Barna, and I'm reporting from the infamous House of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts. We are going to take a closer look inside his house. Here we are inside the Great Chamber, inside the House of the Seven Gables, also known as the Turner Ingersoll Mansion. This historical site sets back to the 17th century. In later years, he wrote a fictional book focused on this mysterious mansion titled The House of the Seven Gables, which was published in 1851. His ancestors were devoted to Puritanism. The attention they got from the Salem witch trials set the theme for his novels. Hawthorne was ashamed of his ancestors' Puritan ways and used it as an inspiration for his writings. Reporting in Salem, Massachusetts. While working at the Boston Custom House in 1839, Nathaniel met Sophia Peabody, and they got engaged after 1 year. In 1841, he resigned from the Custom House and married Sophia in Boston, Massachusetts. They moved to the Old Manse and had their first child, Una. Even with his family life, Nathaniel published many stories. The family left the Old Manse and moved into Nathaniel's mom's house in Salem, Massachusetts. His son, Julian, was born in 1846. In 1849, he started the Scarlet Letter. He wrote 9 hours a day, and it took a total of 6 months to finish the book. Each book sold for 75 cents. In May of 1850, he moved to a farmhouse in Lenox, Massachusetts. Also in the year 1851, his last child, Rose, was born. Nathaniel was not happy with where they were living, so they moved to Wayside. Another large accomplishment of his was the success with the Franklin Pierce campaign for presidency. Pierce rewarded Hawthorne with a family trip to England. Hi, I'm Sydney Cullen, reporting from the grave of Nathaniel Hawthorne's uncle in Old Burying Point Cemetery in Salem, Massachusetts. The ancestry of Nathaniel is actually quite interesting. He didn't believe in his relative's way of life, later resulting in the W added to his last name. His dad was a colonial magistrate involved in the persecution of Quakers. Another relative, John Hawthorne, was a well-known judge in the Salem witch trials. It was said that a so-called witch cursed him and his posterity. The rest of the Hawthorne men were all merchant sea captains. In Nathaniel's later years, he struggled with his writing and trying to come up with complicated plots, but he had no luck. In 1863, Nathaniel became very weak and sick and depressed, but he refused to see a doctor. In 1864, on a train for Concord with Franklin Pierce, Nathaniel died in his sleep on May 19, 1864, in Plymouth, New Hampshire. He was buried on May 23rd in Concord, Massachusetts.
That's all we have for this episode of the History Series, and tune in next week as we look into the crazy life of Edgar Allan Poe.